English law specified the exact wrist joint, not approximately. The disarticulation point was legally defined because losing a hand was the sentence that kept you off the gallows. Picture this. You're in a market square on a gray morning. You're a craftsman, 28 years old, linen tunic, leather boots, nothing distinguishing. 3 days ago, you lifted a bolt of broadcloth from a merchant's stall. One bolt. 15 kilograms of woolen fabric, about the weight of a 4-year-old child. A witness saw you. 2 witnesses, actually. You are on a low wooden scaffold now, your left wrist flat on an oak chopping block, an iron manacle ring 2 inches from your hand. The reeve is reading from a scroll. He is not reading a death warrant. He is reading something that, legally speaking, is better than a death warrant. You are about to lose your hand. And that is the mercy. Oh, hey there. I'm your dead host, and today we are walking through one of the most precisely bureaucratic ways the medieval English crown ever destroyed a body part. Traumatic unilateral disarticulation of the radiocarpal joint with cautery hemostasis. That's the medical term. The 13th century called it a hand sentence. The crown had a licensed professional for this, a barber-surgeon, in a leather apron, with a heated iron. The phrase mercy sentence is doing enormous legal work for what is about to happen to your wrist. Let's find out exactly how much work. Here is what the law actually said. English common law set the capital theft threshold at 12 pence, 1 shilling. Your bolt of broadcloth was worth 10 to 15 shillings, representing 6 to 10 weeks of your wages at 2 pence per day. You are comfortably above the line. For a first offense with witnesses, roughly 1 in 3 convicted thieves in the same period hanged. You are not hanging. You are losing a hand. The distinction is quantifiable. A successfully cauterized amputation carried approximately 60 to 80% survival to 30 days. Hanging by short drop carried 0%. The amputation is merciful by a factor of mortality, not merely symbolically. Cold comfort, but still comfort. The law specified the radiocarpal joint, the gap between the radius and the proximal row of carpal bones, roughly 5 to 7 centimeters above the heel of the palm. Why there specifically? Survivability calculus. Cutting through joint cartilage requires far less force than sawing bone. A practice stroke through the correct gap takes under 2 seconds. The cleaver is 15 to 18 centimeters wide, about the span of an adult male hand laid flat, and the radiocarpal joint itself is only 2.5 to 3 centimeters front to back. The blade is 6 times wider than the gap. 0 margin for angular error. Town records specify the hand must be taken at 1 stroke. Multiple blows were considered botched. A clean single stroke requires a blade of roughly 55 to 60 HRC hardness, delivering 80 to 100 joules of kinetic energy, comparable to a moderate axe blow to green timber. The cautery requirement was also legally mandated. The iron must reach 700 to 900 degrees Celsius, cherry to white heat, before it contacts the stump. Below that band, no vessels are sealed. Above it, tissue carbonizes so deeply it sloughs off within days, reopening the wound. The crown also used heated pitch, coal tar resin, at a boiling point of roughly 300 degrees Celsius, pressed onto the stump within seconds of severance. The crowd smells burning flesh before they see the wound close. Contemporaries noted the smell carries 30 to 40 meters downwind. The 2 arteries being severed are the radial, roughly 3 millimeters in diameter, and the ulnar, roughly 4 millimeters. Without immediate cautery, both together bleed at 300 to 500 milliliters per minute. Fatal exsanguination in under 10 minutes. Skipping cauterization was itself a punishable offense. The executioner's skill was, literally, the difference between sentence and death penalty. Here is the timeline. The tourniquet goes on first. A leather thong is twisted tight above your elbow, compressing the brachial artery against the humerus. Arterial flow to your forearm drops to near 0. Within 90 seconds, your hand goes white, then mottled blue. The barber-surgeon checks the color. The field is dry. Your heart rate is already above 110 beats per minute. Blood pressure sits around 145 systolic from the cortisol and adrenaline your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis dumped into your bloodstream the moment the reeve finished reading. Plasma adrenaline peaks within 1 to 3 minutes. Your pupils are at 7 to 8 millimeters. Your palms are sweating 10 times their resting output. Pain threshold is paradoxically slightly elevated. Biological mercy, small but real. Extremely small. The blade falls. Millisecond 0. The cleaver passes through the radiocarpal joint in under 2 seconds. Cartilage, no bone. A single, clean stroke. The hand is in the sawdust basket. Your blood pressure spikes above 160 systolic as the sympathetic nervous system fires everything it has. First 60 seconds. The cautery iron, at approximately 800 degrees Celsius, contacts the stump. The protein in your vessel walls denatures. The lumen occludes. The crowd smells it. The sawdust under the block is wet. Your blood pressure, which spiked above 160, now crashes. Parasympathetic rebound. Within 2 to 4 minutes of the stroke, it will fall below 80 systolic. Roughly 1 in 5 pre-anesthetic amputees lost consciousness within 60 seconds from vasovagal shock alone, before blood loss even became the dominant threat. Your body just pulled the emergency brake. Minutes 2 to 10. You have lost somewhere between 300 and 600 milliliters of blood by now. Your total blood volume is approximately 5 to 5.5 liters. You have not yet hit Class 3 hemorrhagic shock, which begins at roughly 1.5 liters lost, the threshold at which heart rate climbs above 120 BPM, respiratory rate above 30, and you can no longer follow simple spoken commands. Medieval spectators called that state senseless. You are not senseless yet. You are conscious. That is not entirely good news. The stump is being packed. Egg albumin, honey, linen pledgets, a preparation from the surgical texts of Theodoric of Servia. Egg white forms a semi-occlusive protein layer. Honey, at a water activity of 0.6, inhibits bacterial growth. It is a crude antiseptic. It works partially. Minutes 10 to 20. Your body's own coagulation cascade reinforces the charred seal. Platelet plug within 1 to 3 minutes of the stroke. Fibrin mesh fully cross-linked within 5 to 10 minutes. Combined with the cautery, you typically stop visibly bleeding within 8 to 12 minutes. Bystanders called this closed by God's mercy. The wound is not closed. It is provisionally sealed. Hours 6 to 72. This is where the mercy calculus gets complicated. Without antiseptic technique, Staphylococcus and Streptococcus colonize the open stump within 6 to 12 hours. By 48 to 72 hours, localized cellulitis extends visibly up the forearm. In the absence of antibiotics, roughly 20 to 40% of medieval surgical amputees died of septicemia within 7 to 14 days. The executioner's technique determined your actual survival. A poorly sealed stump, a burned too-deep cautery, a contaminated dressing, and the mercy sentence delivers a slower death than the gallows. Fun fact, the sentence could still kill you, it just took longer. Alright, but what does this actually feel like? Your A delta fibers carry the sharp initial sensation at 5 to 30 meters per second. Your C fibers carry the deep burning pain at 0.5 to 2 meters per second. You feel the sharp bite first. Then, a fraction of a second later, a wave of deep burning arrives. There is no overload into numbness. The signal does not saturate for several minutes. There is no anesthetic. Survivors of traumatic amputation consistently describe the immediate sensation not as cutting, but as burning. A white, total burning. Some Civil War surgical records describe a strange clarity in the minutes after. The brain narrowed to a single point, the crowd noise distant and flat. Some survivors describe the first few seconds as almost peaceful, then the burning arrives. Yeah, there it is. Your somatosensory cortex still maps a full hand, in a region roughly the size of a 50-pence coin on the brain's surface. It receives no input. Within hours, it begins generating its own signal. Most amputees report a vivid phantom hand within 24 hours. Medieval surgeons recorded this as the devil returning the limb in spirit. Accurate in effect, wrong on cause. You, the craftsman who lifted a bolt of cloth on a Tuesday morning, who held your wrist flat on an oak block and heard the reeve read the mercy clause, are on a straw pallet now, left arm wrapped in linen to the stump. You are alive. The hand is in the sawdust basket. Both facts are equally true. The phantom hand is already there. Now, the real world. English ire rolls record hundreds of hand amputation sentences per century in busy jurisdictions. The survival differential between cauterized and non-cauterized cases is stark, roughly 60 to 80% versus near zero. Equivalent theft convictions in the same rolls resulted in hanging at a rate of approximately 1 in 3. There is one more number. As a craftsman dependent on bilateral hand function, loss of your dominant hand reduced productive output by an estimated 70 to 90%. Guild records barred one-handed craftsmen from master status. The sentence carried a slow economic death sentence alongside the acute surgical one. You survived. You just could not work. Modern shoplifting consequences top out at a fine and maybe a tag. Bear that in mind. Stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next one. Or, hopefully not.